Hey there, this is Dr. Maria with mycustomherbs.com, and we are into part 2 of the microbiome, a party in your gut. There's a whole lot going on inside of our gut, and in this part of our little video series, I'm going to get into what they basically are doing there. And so, data suggests that our own gut microbiome actually evolves as we get older and changes as we get older. But there's also evidence that our microbiome, our gut microbes, those bacteria and yeasts and other fungi and viruses and such that live in our gut, actually maybe influenced our own evolution. They've been there for a long time and have likely played a significant role in who we are. But aside from that, our gut flora, our gut microbes actually do a lot of really cool things for us. They come in very handy. So one of the things that our gut microbes do, especially the bacteria, which are the best studied of them, is synthesize vitamins for us. And so our gut bacteria can make vitamin K, which has a role in clotting, and makes vitamin D. Our gut bacteria can even make vitamin B12 and folate, which in particular is really important during pregnancy. And aside from that, our gut microbes can also help us get nutrients from stuff we ourselves can't digest. And so this green stuff is my attempt to represent fiber. And we don't really digest fiber, right? It's good for us in gut health in many ways, but we don't really get nutrition from it until our gut bacteria eat it. And then they actually can break it down for us, and they make all sorts of metabolites and spit them out for us. And, not necessarily for us, probably for themselves, but we benefit as well after they munch on that fiber. So that's another thing that our gut flora does with us. And yet another thing that they do is they may help us to break down and transform toxins that we've ingested, stuff that's come along in our food, things that are in our water, and help inactivate or otherwise break down, metabolize those toxins so that they can come out of the body. Now, there is actually a flip side to this. Sometimes our gut microbes may actually make a toxin worse or activate a toxin as well. But a lot of the time they are actually helping us to break them down, helping to protect us. And, are they doing this on purpose to protect us, or are they just eating another food source? Who knows? If we have co-evolved together, and we have co-evolved together, doing something that benefits us, their host or their spaceship that they're kind of traveling around in, actually benefits them as well. So they can help us with toxic stuff. And another thing that our gut microbes do is help train and regulate our immune system. So that purple blob is supposed to be a macrophage, which is a cell in our innate immune system. So this is our immune system that responds immediately to invasion by pathogens and such. It's not our first line of defense, really our skin is, and our gut lining. But it is an early line of defense against infection. And also our innate immune system is an important line of defense against cancer. So anyway, the contact with the microbes living on our gut wall, as well as living in the lumen or the space inside the gut, helps to train our immune system on what is sort of good and what is bad, what is okay, and the immune system learns to tolerate, and what is not okay, and the immune system learns to attack and clear. So very important role in immune system stuff. And a disruption in the balance of our gut microbes, which is something we'll get into in probably the next video in this series, can lead to immune system issues and may even be linked to things like a higher predilection for allergies and autoimmune issues. So our gut microbes, here they are hanging out along our intestinal lining, can protect that intestinal lining. Now you may be wondering why there's a wavy black line. What that represents is in at least part of our intestines, especially the small intestine, there are these little villi, these projections that increase the surface area for nutrient absorption. And we do have microbes in our small intestine, especially as we get to the end of it, although there's even more, or vastly more, in our large intestine. But one of the things these microbes do, our resident little critters, is help regulate the amount of mucus produced by our intestinal lining. That mucus is a protective barrier. They have an influence on how tightly packed together our intestinal cells are. Tight junctions are what help hold our cells together and keep things from crossing the gut that should not. And also having our good guys here help crowd out the bad guys. And so the green guys on the left are supposed to be the bad guys. So just by their mere presence, our microbes help prevent unwanted microbes from getting a foothold, as it were, in our body, in our gut. And there are some species of microbes in our gut that even make antibiotics. Pretty cool. And then a whole bunch of other things, because I got tired of making little slides. Our gut microbes have an impact on our mood, believe it or not. Our gut microbes have an impact on blood sugar regulation, and there's some pretty wild experiments where if you transfer a fecal transplant, so yes, a poop transplant, from a healthy person to a person that is dealing with metabolic issues, dysregulated blood sugar, prediabetes, stuff like that, the person that receives the transfer actually has better blood regulation, at least temporarily. So that's actually pretty exciting. And scientists are trying to figure out how to make those results last a little bit longer. Our gut microbes also, aside from blood sugar regulation, have an impact on other aspects of metabolism. And that was seen in that human study, but there have even been rodent studies, not that I'm a fan of animal studies, but there have been rodent studies where the transfer of gut microbes from lean mice to obese mice helped improve the health. And the opposite was true when the microbes came from the obese mice into the leaner mice. And it's not saying that obesity is solely due to the microbes in our gut, but there is a link there. And it could be that somebody's eating habits have an impact on who's living in their gut, that can then have an impact on our metabolism. So since I'm kind of going down this track, there was a study finding that when they looked at people with a higher body mass index, they have a different collection of gut microbes in them. And it's weird. It's interesting. Their gut microbes actually cause that person to get even more energy from their food than a leaner person, and in terms of their own gut microbe collection. And so there is clearly a profound effect on who's in our gut with our health and our metabolism and how much calories we're getting from our food and such. Also, our gut microbes help with recycling of stuff. And so, for instance, bile acids and cholesterol that the liver is spitting out into the gut can often be recycled from the gut back to the liver based on enzymatic activity of our gut microbes. And you're probably hearing my very loud house sparrows outside going to town. So cholesterol, bile acids, vitamin D, estrogen breakdown products and other hormones and such can all be recycled back to the liver from the gut microbes in our gut, due again to the enzymatic activity that those microbes have on those various substances. And one other really cool thing they do that I like as an herbalist is gut microbes help convert plant chemicals, those chemicals in the plants that we think of as plant medicine, to usable forms in the body. So for instance, phytoestrogens, which to be clear are not estrogen, in food context often have a lot of benefits in the body, but they're not active until they're acted on by our gut microbes. And so another really cool thing that they're doing for us, helping us to get even more benefits out of our food. And so that wraps it up this time. Next time, we're going to actually get into what influences who's living in our gut. I already mentioned that people's diets can have an effect here. And so that's what we will nerd out about then. And so until then, be well, and thanks for tagging along.